Welcome back to another F1 video for you guys today. Obviously, big news of the day is me learning about Colton Herta and seeing what else there is to learn about the man. Obviously, apparently he is the next American F1 driver, Showtime and Josh Ravel again. But apparently he is also linked to joining AlphaTauri, taking Pierre Gasly's spot, who is apparently linked to Alpine to replace Fernando Alonso, who took Sebastian Vettel's spot at Aston Martin. So, because Sebastian Vettel is retiring at the end of the season. So let's see. It would be good to see another American F1 driver. I think the last time that we seen was Andretti. It was Andretti. I think Marco Andretti. But hopefully it works out, man. It would be good to see an American driver. Obviously, if he does join the F1, he'll probably be one of my favorite drivers off bat, just because he's American. And I gotta support the homeboys, man. But anyway, hope you guys are doing good, doing amazing, stupendous. Also, I did make a Discord. I'm gonna start putting it in the video description after videos. So if you're interested, go and join it. Like to connect more with you guys. Also, that's it. Let's get started with the video. Don't forget to like and sub. Let's get it.
Long last, Formula One has finally gotten its wish. America actually gives a shit about it now. Through the trials and tribulations of trying to appeal to the United States, all throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where they created multiple Grand Prix that nobody went to, how they almost killed interest completely in 2005, their failed attempts at staging a race in New York that wasn't actually in New York, until now. Finally, they've attained interest over there. This really is a dream come true for them. Not quite. There is one more piece to the puzzle, and this really isn't something that should be much of a debate. We need an American Formula One driver. Now, yeah, I get it. We want to see the best drivers in Formula One, right? We can't compromise on anything, whether it be money, nationality, or whatever. It should be the 20 best drivers in the world on that grid today. But I will retort by asking, when has this ever been the case? Fear not, though. There will be no compromise in this pitch I'm about to give to you. But first, we need to reflect a bit on American Formula One drivers. You know, for a nation that has brought us some unbelievably good and important racing drivers, they haven't had a hell of a lot of success in Formula One. Kind of like New Zealand in a way. Great stuff in the 60s and 70s, but after that, it flatlined harder than Blockbuster in the 2000s. But here's the difference. We are a country of 5 million people and less sporting resources than a cave. We're also a million miles away from anywhere and have a domestic motor racing scene that is actually probably more dead than Blockbuster is right now. Whereas the United States of America, that's a different story. They do have the resources. They do have a great motor racing scene. There really should be an American driver on that Formula One grid. Yet the last one to compete in Formula One was Alexander Rossi in 2015 for Manor. The last full-time one was Scott Speed in 2006. The last to score points was Michael Andretti in 1993. And the last to win a race and or...
Okay, yeah, that's what I said, Marco Andretti. That's the race one that I know. I didn't even know about Burr, who was in 2015, was Scott Speed. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I ain't know that. I didn't peep that.
Championship was his father Mario in 1978.
Yeah, I saw it.
And if we're going to be picky here, Mario ain't even a full-on American either. So
yeah,
we've had this weird-ass American drought in Formula One, especially when you remember the likes of Bobby Rahal, AJ Foyt, and Alexander Rossi never got a proper shot, or the likes of Rick Mears, Al Unser, and Joseph Newgarden never got a chance. But now that America actually gives a damn about the sport, it's kind of pertinent that this question be answered. But that does beg the question, who actually has it in them to take on the world of Formula One?
Well,
that's what I'm going to try and find out right after we talk about these guys. Now, almost everyone knows what Surfshark is at this point, right? It's a VPN service that protects your information by encrypting all the data that you send through the internet. If you're sitting or standing there thinking, why would I need this? I will retort by asking, is the internet the safest place in the galaxy right now? Yeah. Didn't think so. Yet, so much of our lives revolve around the internet. So it is best that your information is secure in all of this, and Surfshark VPN will provide you with that security. There's something else as well. Depending upon where you are in the world, content from streaming services can be restricted. Oh boy, don't I know that. However, Surfshark can help you bypass that by changing your location, thereby allowing you to view your favorite shows, or in some cases, yours truly, which is especially great for people who live in countries where censorship is thrown around as commonly as condoms on campus. It ain't quite teleportation, but it is about as close as we're gonna get right now. So here's the Surfshark offer. Use the link provided in the description. Punch in the promo code JoshRebel and you can get Surfshark VPN for 83% off and 3 extra months for free. And as a special June offer, antivirus for a whole 27 months. So all of that for like a couple of bucks a month, and 3 free months of service, and 27 months of antivirus, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. So be sure to give Surfshark some love. They've been good to me, and they'll be good to you too. But I suppose you lot want to know about this grand American prospect that I've got lined up, right? Alright, alright. I'll drop the name. It's Colton Herta, the heartthrob of the IndyCar community. This dude is like the bastard love child of Max Verstappen and Carl
Did I
Groves.
call him
His
Colin
reputation
early
is such
on?
that he's firmly gotten onto the radar of the Formula One paddock and of
Did I call him Colin Herta? I don't know if I did or not. Hopefully I didn't. Hopefully I didn't call him Colin.
the fans as well. He is absolutely everything that Formula One could possibly want from an American driver. That's what you want me to say, right? Well, that's what we're all here for. I want to decipher whether this love affair that the world of motorsport has with Colton is justified. And I say that knowing that he follows me on socials, and that's a bridge that I don't want to burn, because I mean, his post-Walking Dead career has been a wonder to behold. Well, immediately, when you look at his racing record, it's definitely got some stuff in it, including a stint over in Europe way in the beginning. Well, I say the beginning, it was only 6 We got some stuff in it, including a stint over in
Who decided to have my man? And you know, a pretty nice outfit, you know, looking spiffy. Who decided to have this man freaking knees deep in the ocean to take a picture and stuff like that? With jeans on. Who made him do that? Like, he's probably laying right next to him.
Well, I say the beginning, it was only 6 years
just get me
ago,
wet
but
for
it's
no
worth
reason.
looking at. In 2015, he packed his bags and headed for the country that brought
Like
the
a
world
freaking
on
Kim
Farrell
Kardashian.
and a whole host of other headaches. Over there, he was competing in the British Formula 4
Jesus.
Championship, driving with the established outfit known as Carlin, in a series that was brim with some decent talent. Herta's main competition was with his two teammates. One was Petra Florishka, who posed about as much threat as Valtteri Bottas does in a dogfight, although that second teammate of his was Lando Norris. And say what you want about Lando, but this boy can pedal a car. And it showed. He won the championship. Although it is worth mentioning that Colton did finish that year in third place, with the second half of the season being particularly strong. As that season drew on, he was starting to qualify on pole position. He was setting more fastest laps. He was getting onto the podium at almost every time of asking, and was as common a sight on the top rostrum as Lando was. He went over to Euro Formula for 2016, once again hooked up with Carlin, alongside Kevin Andrews and Amaya Vaidyanathan. You know what? I can't lie. Kevin Andrews and Amaya Vaidyanathan were not the greatest drivers to ever be thrust upon this earth. So the most appropriate way for Colton to go about the season was to destroy them. And that's exactly what he did. Like his British F4 run, it was a slow start to the season. But once he got his ass into gear, oh boy, did Colton start to show something. He finished third in that series. He finished second in the Spanish F3 series. Demonstrated some damn strong pace in some one-off performances back in Britain. And in the Masters of F3 event at Zandvoort, he got his ass handed to him by his teammates. No, wait, hang on. But in the main, there was a lot of good that came from these 2 years, which is exactly
Time out. Hey, time out.
why in 2017, he left to go back to America and ended up in Indy Lights, the stepping stone to IndyCar. Now, I'm not going to go over his whole Indy career because really, I'd just be throwing numbers.
So he had some pretty good
and
success
they wouldn't really mean
overseas,
anything. Let's talk
specifically
about
Britain.
individual performances, ones that put him on the map. 2019, Circuit of the Americas. In just his third IndyCar race in a Harding Steinbrenner car, Colton would go on to become the youngest ever IndyCar winner, and made a lot of us feel old when you remember that this guy was the first driver ever to be born in the 2000s to win an IndyCar race. Yeah, let that sink in for a moment. Later that year, he would become the youngest ever driver to take an IndyCar pole position, taking it at the awesome facility of Road America, which is America's best racetrack. I will not hear any counter-arguments. And then he completely bossed everyone at the season finale at Laguna Seca, barely missing out on Rookie of the Year honors to Felix Rosenquist, who had the luxury of Ganassi equipment. In the next season, Colton finished third overall in the standings, the highest of all Andretti and Andretti-backed drivers, which he did again the next season. But if there was one race that I'd like to pick out that highlights what Colton Herta
The Indy
is all about,
500.
it was from this year on the Indy road course. His qualifying performance was about as mid as you can get, but one could argue that Honda themselves have been pretty crap this year and gave anyone who ran their engines, Colton included, a hell of a handicap. But race day is when the points are dished out, so he had to pray that the man upstairs doused the track in enough water to drown pheasants and confuse the Peruvians. And whatever rain dance he did, it worked. I mean, but it was enough to make conditions tricky and test the drivers. Colton started down in the mid-pack, which is a lot of fun whenever you're not in it, so on lap 3, the call was made to bring him in for some dry tyres, which wasn't as harebrained as you may think, because he was now challenging for the effective lead of the race. Before this happened,
Whoa, look out! Big nice save! Sideways!
now that is what you call a pretty average mistake, followed up by some of the most amazing car control that you would ever see in your life, while other drivers
Hey, I was getting ready to say that was a pretty good save. I don't know how he managed to save that. I thought he was getting ready to spin out. That was, hey, I'm all in. I'm all in on
fell
Colton.
off around him.
I'm
Herta
all in
kept
on my
on
boy.
powering on.
Yeah,
Even
that's
when
my
more
boy
rain
now.
was
I'm
dumped
all
upon the
in.
circuit,
I'm all
Colton
in.
always remained the guy. It was a dominant display in such appalling conditions, and it further cemented his place in the hearts of anyone yearning for an American driver to enter Formula One and not be a total train wreck both inside and out of the car. They still haven't mentally recovered yet from Scott's speed. So why then, as of the recording of this video, is Herta down in P11 in the standings, only just ahead of Romain Grosjean, who a lot of people like to call mid, and behind a whole stack of other talent that could equally be in with a shout of being a Formula One candidate, especially given that this is a spec series, so they're all driving the exact same car, right? Well, I mean, it ain't quite as simple as that. And honestly, if you're looking at Marcus Ericsson doing well in this series as an indicator that everyone in Indycar sucks, you need to reevaluate your knowledge of the sport, capiche? But as mentioned before, the anemic Honda engine as well as other mitigating factors this year have hurt Colton. And there has been another big factor as to why Colton is lagging behind in the standings. Himself.
Damn.
You see, while he is lightning fast behind the wheel of a car, he sometimes uses that speed to plaster the car into the wall, which, you know, isn't the most
That's not
ideal of
good.
ways to finish a race. Preferably you want to do that without spinning out or ripping the wheels off your car. Going back to his British days for a bit, teammate Lando Norris commented that while he was stupidly fast through the high-speed corners, he'd often come back to the pits covered in mud, leaves, and whatever living creature was unfortunate
Ew.
enough to be in the field at the time, all over him and his car. It is the description of a driver who has all the talent in the world, right up until it blows up in his face. A flawed magician. Call it what you want. You know what I call it? Potential. And no, I'm not on the Elon Musk when I say that shit. What this dude reminds me of is someone like Jacques Villeneuve or one Pablo Montoya from the late 90s of American open wheel racing. Laugh all you want, but when they made the transfer over to Formula One, they killed it. There's no reason to think that the same would not apply
Right.
here if you
Right.
gave it to the right talent. Someone else who got the Indy to Formula One treatment, albeit only at a testing level, was Colton's father, Brian Herta. Brian Herta was a folk hero on the IndyCar scene, and it really isn't hard to see why. His exploits in IndyCar were awesome, even if he only has 2 wins to his credit, but trust me, numbers don't mean everything.
Yeah.
He did, however, drive a Minardi Formula One car around Donington in 2002, and this led to speculation that he probably could be up for a drive toward the end of the season, whilst Alex Young's main sponsor decided.
So like I said, obviously Montoya and Villeneuve had success transitioning. Also, his dad has some success, even with 2 wins, but still, not just my bad. Freaking box was a bit tight, but boss. But anyway, obviously Colton's dad was in as well, so he has some knowledge about that. So like I said, I'm all in. Hopefully that transition, he has the same success as Montoya and them. You just never know. You just never know.
Decided to stop sending money. But of course, this never happened. He went back to America, finished his career there, and now he helps guide his son Colton into the IndyCar limelight. And it's all kind of come full circle, as Colton does have a McLaren test program lined up for 2022, 20 years after his father Brian had hauled that box around Donington. And with Daniel Ricciardo encountering issues and the media speculation surrounding his future, this is getting interesting. But would success be guaranteed if they were to run with Colton? The answer is
Eliminate.
you can't guarantee anything in this game. Whether it would be happening behind the scenes politically, not getting used to the car, whatever it may be. The only way you could tell is by throwing a driver into the deep end and seeing if they'll drown or not. A lot of his strengths behind the wheel could very well translate to Formula One, but that sport does command a more complete profile of driver to be successful. If Colton can iron out the tendency to harpoon his car into the barriers at any point where he felt like he'd sent a zombie, he would be an absolute weapon in a Formula One car. He is absolutely someone that I want to see in Formula One, whether it would be through McLaren or the prospective Andretti Formula One team. Problem is that Colton Herta will never reach Formula One. At least, I don't think so. Not least because this feels like nothing more than momentary hype, but also because while Zach Brown has vested interest in Colton landing at McLaren, he, among other
Well,
team
it's too late,
principals, have
maybe.
less appetite for Andretti joining the grid as Augustus Gloop did for a salad. And if we're going to be 100,000,000% honest here, Pato Award also does deserve to be in the same talks for a drive, because that dude can hustle a car too. But should Colton not make it to Formula One, we need only remember that we have the likes of Logan Sargent in Formula 2, Zach Crawford is in the Red Bull Junior team, Ugo Ugochukwu is a McLaren Junior and beginning his car racing career. Back home in IndyCar, we have the likes of Kyle Kirkwood, who's probably going to dominate IndyCar for the years to come. And in the Road to Indy system, we have the likes of Michael DeLando and Miles Rowe, who are trying to craft themselves a decent career in motor racing. Don't worry, I haven't jinxed any of these guys, provided they don't say some stupid
I ain't know any of them, but hey, shout out to them. I ain't know any of them
after this
drivers.
video's release, but irrespective, these are merely the ones that first come to mind. America does have the talent. They can make it happen, and it will happen sooner rather than later. And it's more important now than ever before.
Well, it's happening this year, so I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It's happening this year. No ifs, ands, or buts. But hopefully it does happen this year. But very, very interesting though about Mr. Colton Herta. Like I said, with the recent news coming out, it's a pretty, it's a good chance he may be in F1 next year. So we'll see. We'll keep on the lookout for that. But very, very informative video. Like I said, shout out to Josh again with the banger. Learned a lot about the man, the myth, the legend, Colton. Anyway, hope you guys did enjoy the video. Don't forget to like the video and sub as well. Stay safe. We'll see you guys later. Peace.